The unexpected winner in the chip war. The US-China trade war has reached a boiling point. Donald Trump, in his second term as US president, has just raised tariffs on Chinese imports by an additional 10%, effective February 4th, 2025. This brings the total tariff on Chinese goods to a staggering 110%. 100% from his previous presidency, plus the new executive order. China isn't staying silent. Xi Jinping's government has announced retaliatory tariffs, effective February 10th, 2025. A 10% tariff on US crude oil, agricultural machinery, and automobiles, plus a 15% tariff on coal and liquefied natural gas, LNG. This is no longer just a trade dispute, it's an all-out economic war. To make it even worse, China isn't backing down with just tariffs, it's fighting back with AI. The DeepSeek breakthrough has sent shockwaves across the US economy, proving that China is still a major tech powerhouse. This AI model outperformed OpenAI's ChatGPT, and as a result, the stock market went into free fall, wiping out over $1 trillion in market value for OpenAI, Nvidia, and Google. While these two superpowers battle for technological supremacy, one country is emerging as the unexpected winner: Malaysia. Yes, while the US economy and China's economy are taking hits, Malaysia's economy is thriving. Anwar Ibrahim's government has positioned Malaysia as a key semiconductor hub, attracting billions in investment from both sides. And let's not forget, Mahathir Mohamed's early economic policies helped set the stage for this decades ago. So, how did Malaysia pull this off? How is it playing both sides in this geopolitical power struggle? And can Malaysia maintain this delicate balance? Or will it be forced to choose between Washington and Beijing? Let's break it all down. Why Malaysia is becoming the next chip powerhouse. For over 50 years, Malaysia has been a key player in the semiconductor industry. It all began in 1972 when Intel set up its first overseas factory in Penang. That move put Malaysia on the map as a semiconductor hub, and over the decades it has continued to attract major players in the industry. Now, with the US-China chip war intensifying, Malaysia has become the preferred destination for global chip makers. Billions of dollars are flowing in. Intel is investing $7 billion into advanced chip packaging, a technology crucial for next-generation semiconductors. German chip giant Infineon is also committing $7 billion to expand its footprint in Malaysia. Meanwhile, Nvidia, the leader in AI computing, has announced a $4.3 billion investment to ramp up AI chip production. And that's not all. Texas Instruments, ATS, Ericsson, Bosch, and Lam Research are all expanding their operations. Most of these investments are centered in Penang, Kedah, and Perak, turning these regions into Asia's new Silicon Valley. Once known for their beaches and tourism, these areas are now at the forefront of global semiconductor manufacturing. But why Malaysia? Why are companies choosing it over other Southeast Asian nations like Vietnam, Thailand, or even India? One key reason is location. Malaysia sits strategically between global trade routes, making it an ideal hub for semiconductor exports. Its well-developed ports and logistics infrastructure allow companies to ship products efficiently to markets in the US, China, and Europe. Then there's the workforce. Malaysia has decades of experience in semiconductor manufacturing, meaning companies don't have to start from scratch. The labor force is highly skilled, English-speaking, and cost-effective, making it a prime destination for high-tech investments. But the biggest reason is political stability. Unlike other countries that are caught in the middle of the US-China conflict, Malaysia has maintained strong trade ties with both superpowers. That means both American and Chinese companies see Malaysia as a safe and reliable investment destination. However, Malaysia isn't just winning because of its semiconductor industry. It's also quietly becoming a key player in AI chip production. And with AI being the next battleground in the tech war between the US and China, Malaysia's position is even more valuable. But here's the real question. How is Malaysia managing to work with both the US and China without facing backlash? Let's dive into Malaysia's secret advantage and why playing both sides might be its greatest strength. Malaysia's secret advantage. Playing both sides. Malaysia isn't just benefiting from the US-China chip war, it's mastering the game. While other countries are caught in the middle, Malaysia is taking full advantage of its neutral stance, securing billions in investments from both superpowers. Unlike nations that have been forced to choose sides, Malaysia has perfected what it calls active neutrality. a strategy that allows it to do business with both Washington and Beijing without getting caught in the crossfire. For the United States, Malaysia is seen as a safe, reliable semiconductor hub. With the US imposing a 110% tariff on Chinese goods, American companies are looking for alternative supply chains. Malaysia, with its long-standing trade ties with the US, is an obvious choice. For China, Malaysia is something entirely different. A loophole. The Nvidia chip ban and strict export controls have crippled China's access to high-end semiconductors. But Malaysia offers a way around these restrictions. If Chinese companies shift production to Malaysia, their chips are no longer considered made in China and can still enter global markets. And that's exactly what's happening. Chinese firms are quietly moving operations to Malaysia, taking advantage of its well-established semiconductor infrastructure and its free trade agreements with Western nations. This means China can still compete in the global chip race, even as US sanctions tighten. But this balancing act comes with serious risks. The US currently imports 20% of its semiconductors from Malaysia, more than it does from Taiwan or Vietnam. If Washington starts to suspect that China is using Malaysia to bypass sanctions, the Trump administration could impose new trade restrictions on Malaysia itself. The pressure is growing. As US-China tensions escalate, the world is watching to see if Malaysia can maintain this delicate neutrality, or if it will be forced to choose a side. And if that happens, Malaysia's entire semiconductor boom could be at risk. So the question is, how long can Malaysia keep winning? Or will the same geopolitical forces that made Malaysia a semiconductor powerhouse eventually bring it down? Can Malaysia handle the pressure? Malaysia may be winning the US-China chip war for now, but this victory comes with serious risks. The country's strategy of playing both sides has worked, so far. But as tensions escalate, Malaysia could find itself caught in the crossfire. One of the biggest threats? US retaliation. Washington has already imposed a 110% tariff on Chinese goods and banned Nvidia from exporting AI chips to China. If the US government discovers that Chinese firms are using Malaysia as a backdoor to bypass these restrictions, it won't hesitate to act. The White House could impose new trade barriers on Malaysia or pressure American companies to shift their investments elsewhere. Then there's the issue of economic dependence. Malaysia's semiconductor boom is heavily reliant on foreign investments. Companies like Intel, Nvidia, and Infineon are pouring billions into the country. But what happens if they leave? If trade policies change or another country, like Vietnam or India, offers better incentives, these companies could relocate, leaving Malaysia vulnerable. But the biggest risk of all? Geopolitical pressure. Malaysia's neutrality may not last forever. The US is tightening its grip on the global chip industry, while China is finding new ways to fight back. If the trade war intensifies, Malaysia may be forced to choose a side, a decision that could make or break its semiconductor industry. For now, Malaysia is walking a fine line between two superpowers. But the question remains, how long can it last? If Malaysia makes the wrong move, it could lose everything it has gained. But if it plays its cards right, it could cement its position as a global tech powerhouse. So, is this just a short-term win for Malaysia? Or has it truly found a way to outmaneuver the world's biggest economies? Let's take a look at what's next, and why the stakes for Malaysia have never been higher. What happens next? Can Malaysia keep winning? Malaysia is reaping the rewards of decades of smart investments in the semiconductor industry. It has positioned itself as a key player in the global chip supply chain, benefiting from both American and Chinese investments. But as the chip war intensifies, Malaysia's future is anything but certain. Can it continue to walk the tightrope between two economic superpowers? Or will the very strategy that helped it succeed ultimately lead to its downfall? If the US-China trade war escalates further, Malaysia's ability to stay neutral will be seriously tested. The US has already cut China off from Nvidia's AI chips and slapped a 110% tariff on Chinese imports. China, in response, has introduced countermeasures that are disrupting global trade. Right now, Malaysia is safe. But what happens when the US and China's fight spills over? Will the US impose new sanctions on Malaysia, cutting off its access to critical technology? Will China increase its control over supply chains, forcing Malaysia to take sides? Or will Malaysia defy expectations once again, cementing itself as the ultimate winner of the chip war? One thing is certain, the battle for technological dominance is far from over, and Malaysia is sitting right in the middle of it. The question is, Can it survive the next wave of global economic warfare? Let's take a look at what this all means for the future, and why Malaysia's position in the semiconductor industry is more fragile than it seems. Malaysia has positioned itself as the unexpected winner of the US-China chip war. By playing both sides, it has secured billions in semiconductor investments, turning itself into a key hub for the global tech supply chain. But the world is changing fast. Trump's 110% tariffs on Chinese goods are already reshaping trade. The Nvidia chip ban is squeezing China's tech industry. And now, China's breakthrough with DeepSeek has sent shockwaves through the US economy, wiping out over $1 trillion in market value for American tech giants. So here's the real question. If Malaysia is winning, who's losing? Because this trade war isn't just about China anymore. Trump's economic offensive is spreading, and Canada, America's closest ally, is already feeling the heat. The US has imposed new tariffs that could devastate Canada's economy. And if that's happening to an ally, what does that mean for the rest of the world? Watch this next video. Trump's secret tariff plan, why Canada should be worried, to see how the trade war is expanding beyond China, and who could be next. Because in this global economic battle, the trade war, no one is truly safe.